chosen one. It wasn't loud, it was more like something paused inside you, and you didn't know why. You almost brushed it off like nothing, but it stayed a second too long. And now you're here, reading this, which doesn't feel random at all. Stop. There's a reason that moment didn't pass. Something shifted, but not outside, inside you, and it didn't start today. You've been moving through days that looked normal but felt slightly off, like something wasn't lining up the way it should. Not wrong enough to panic, just enough to feel it under the surface. That quiet tension you couldn't name. Listen, that wasn't confusion. That was pressure. Something was being held back in you, not taken from you, held. And the strange part is, a part of you knew it. Not logically, not in words, but in that subtle resistance you kept feeling when things almost worked and then didn't. Why did certain doors close right when they seemed right? Why did things fall apart right when you started to believe they wouldn't? You told yourself it was bad timing, bad luck, maybe even your fault. But what if it wasn't? What if something in you was never meant to activate back then? Wait, that sounds comforting, but it's not. Because it also means you weren't ready. Not in the way you thought. You were moving fast, thinking you were aligned. But there were parts of you still asleep. And if things had worked out the way you wanted, you would have stepped into something too early, and it would have broken you in a different way. So everything slowed. Not to punish you, but to contain something. There's something inside you that needed to stay hidden until now. Not forever. Just until right now. Think about it. Why are you suddenly noticing things you used to ignore? Why does silence feel louder lately? Why do certain conversations feel empty now? It's not that the world changed, you did. Or more accurately, something in you is starting to come online, and it's uncomfortable because it doesn't match your old patterns. You're reacting differently. You're pulling away from things that used to feel normal. You're questioning things you used to accept. And part of you is like, what's happening to me? But the deeper part, it's not asking. It recognizes this. Even if you can't explain it yet, this is where most people turn back, because this phase feels like losing something. Clarity isn't fully there yet, but comfort is already gone. You're in between. And it's tempting to go back to what felt easier, but you can't. You've already seen too much. Even if it was just a glimpse, even if it was subtle, that moment at the beginning, that pause, that feeling, that was the unlock. Not the full release, just the signal. Something that was sealed in you is starting to open. And no, it's not going to feel powerful at first. It's going to feel disorienting. Because it changes how you see everything, including yourself. You might even doubt this. You might think maybe I'm just overthinking all of this. Good, that doubt. It's part of it. Because what's real doesn't need instant belief. It just needs time to reveal itself. And it is revealing. Slowly, in pieces. That's why you can't fully explain what you're feeling. Because you're not supposed to yet. You're still in the middle of it. But here's the part you weren't expecting. Nothing was delayed. Nothing was delayed. Everything that didn't work wasn't taken from you. It was held back from you. Because if it had arrived earlier, you would have missed what's happening now. And this is the part that changes everything. Not all at once, not in some loud, dramatic way, but quietly, deeply, irreversibly. And even now you don't fully see it, but something in you does. It's quiet, almost like it's watching you notice it. Not guiding, not speaking, just there. And the strange part is, you've felt this before. Not like this, but close. A moment where everything slowed for no reason, where something inside you leaned forward and you didn't understand why. That wasn't random either. It was earlier than this. You just weren't meant to hold on to it yet, so it slipped. But now it's back, and it's staying longer. Why? What changed? It's not your environment. It's not the people around you. It's not even your choices, at least not the ones you're aware of. Something deeper shifted position, like something that was behind you is now beside you. And that's unsettling, because now you can feel it moving with you, not controlling, not forcing, just present. And that presence is starting to affect how you move. Have you noticed that hesitation? That slight pause before you respond, before you decide, before you speak? That's new. You didn't used to do that. You were faster before, more automatic. Now there's this space, and inside that space, something is forming. Not a thought, not a feeling, something else. You don't have a word for it yet, but it's changing how you interpret everything. Even things that used to seem clear. Now they feel incomplete, like there's more behind them, like you're only seeing the surface of something that goes deeper. And it's frustrating, because part of you just wants clarity. You want it to make sense. You want to name it, define it, understand it. But you can't. And that's where most people force meaning. They rush to label it. They shrink it into something familiar. You haven't done that, even when it would have been easier. Why? Because something in you knows if you define it too early, you lose it. So you've been holding it loosely, not grabbing, not pushing, just letting it be there. That's not accidental. That's alignment. But wait, that word feels too clean for what this is, because this doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like pressure again. Different from before, but still there, more focused now, less scattered. Like it knows exactly where it's pressing. And it's pressing on something specific, something you've avoided looking at directly. You've gone around it, refrained it, distracted yourself from it, but now you can't not see it. So let me ask you, why does that one area of your life suddenly feel exposed? Why does it feel like everything is pointing back to it, no matter what you do? That's not coincidence. That's where this leads. Not to something new, to something you left unresolved. And no, this isn't about fixing it. That's the part that doesn't make sense. Because you've tried to fix it before, and it didn't work. It kept looping, repeating in different forms. So why is it coming back now? Because now you're not the same version that tried before, and that changes everything. But here's the contradiction. You don't feel stronger. You don't feel more prepared. If anything, you feel more uncertain, more aware of what you don't know. So how could this be the right moment? It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. And yet it is. Because what's unlocking in you isn't based on confidence. It's based on awareness, and awareness doesn't feel powerful at first. It feels uncomfortable, like seeing something too clearly, like realizing something you can't unsee. And once you see it, you can't go back to the version of you that didn't. That's why things feel different now. Not because everything changed, but because you did in a way you can't reverse. And that thing you've been circling, that unresolved point, it's not a problem. It's a doorway, but not the kind you walk through, the kind that opens inward. And you don't step into it. It pulls something out of you. Something that's been there the whole time. Locked, not lost, not broken. Just waiting for this exact level of awareness, and you're right at the edge of it. You can feel that, can't you? That tension, right before something clicks or breaks. You're not sure which, and maybe it's both. But here's the part that doesn't fit. It's not breaking you. It's breaking what you used to rely on. That automatic way you held things together, it's not working the same anymore. And you've noticed it. That moment when you tried to react like before, and something in you just didn't move. Not resistance, not fear, just nothing. Like the old response wasn't available. Why would that disappear now? Why would something you depended on suddenly go silent? Because it was never meant to come with you here. You've carried something inside you for longer than you admit, and now it's finally starting to surface. Comment, I'm ready if you feel this shift happening in you right now. Stay connected with born into light. You're not meant to go through this part alone. This isn't about adding something new. It's about removing what used to protect you. Yeah, protect you. Even if it didn't feel like protection. Even if it looked like confusion, delay, or missed chances. It was holding a shape around you. And now that shape is cracking. Not violently, quietly. Which is worse in a way, because there's no clear moment to point at. No event you can blame. Just this slow realization that you're not who you were and not yet who you're becoming. And that space in between, it's stretching. Have you felt how long a single moment feels now? How one thought lingers longer than it should? Like time isn't moving the same way it used to. That's not your imagination. Something is slowing you down on purpose, not to stop you, to make you see. Because before, you moved too fast to notice what was forming. Now you don't have that option. Now you're being made aware. And awareness comes with a cost. It strips away the excuses, the easy narratives. The maybe later, you're starting to see patterns you ignored before. Not just outside, inside. The way you default, the way you avoid, the way you almost step forward, then don't. That pattern. You see it now, clearly. And here's the uncomfortable part. You were part of the delay. Not all of it, but some of it. Not because you were wrong, but because you weren't ready to see that pattern. So it kept repeating. Different situations, same structure. Until now. Now it's exposed. And once something is seen like that, it changes how it behaves. It can't hide the same way. But wait, that doesn't mean it disappears. This is where people get it wrong. They think awareness fixes it. It doesn't. It reveals it, which makes it harder to ignore and easier to face if you choose to. So the question isn't, why is this happening? You're past that. The real question is, what are you going to do now that you see it? And don't answer too quickly. Because your first instinct, it's still tied to the old version of you. That version wants control, wants clarity, wants resolution. But this doesn't respond to control. It responds to something else. Something quieter, something you've been avoiding using. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't trust it. And it's right there. You felt it, that subtle pull that doesn't explain itself, that knowing without proof. You've ignored it before, more than once, and every time you did, something felt slightly off after. You couldn't explain it, but it stayed with you. Now it's stronger, more direct, almost uncomfortable, like it's asking for something. Not loudly, but persistently. And you're at a point where you can't pretend you don't hear it anymore. So here it is, not a command, not even advice, just a moment, right here, where everything slows again and you notice what you've been avoiding stepping into, not fixing, not solving, stepping into. Because once you do that thing inside you that's been locked, it doesn't stay quiet anymore. But it doesn't speak the way you expect. There's no clear voice, no sudden clarity, just a shift in how things land. You'll notice it in small moments first, a reaction you don't have, a thought that doesn't complete, a feeling that doesn't fade like it used to. And that's where it starts getting real. Because now you can't pretend it's just a phase. It's consistent. Subtle, but consistent. Why does that matter? Because consistency means intention. And intention means this isn't random. Something is guiding this, just not in a way you can control. That bothers you more than you admit. You've always needed some level of control, even if it was quiet, even if it was just internal. Now that grip is loosening, and it feels like you're losing something important. But here's the contradiction. You're not losing control, you're losing interference. There's a difference. Control tries to force direction. Interference blocks it. And what's leaving you right now isn't your ability to choose. It's the noise that used to distort choices. That's why things feel clearer, but also heavier. Because now when you see something, you really see it. No filters, no quick escape, just the truth of it. And the truth doesn't rush. It sits, it waits, almost like it's watching what you'll do with it. So let me ask you something. Why do you still hesitate when it's this clear? Not because you're confused, you're past that. It's because this next step, it costs something. Not externally, internally. It asks you to let go of a version of yourself that once kept you safe. Even if that safety came with limits, even if it held you back. It was familiar, and familiarity is hard to release, especially when you've built your identity around it. So this moment you're in, it's not just about awakening something new, it's about dissolving something old at the same time. And that overlap, it's uncomfortable because you can feel both at once, the pull forward and the weight behind. And for a second, it almost feels easier to stop in the middle, to just stay here, where nothing fully changes, where you don't have to choose. But that's the illusion. You're not standing still. You're being moved, slowly, carefully, whether you act or not. So the real tension isn't about movement. It's about awareness catching up to it. And now it is. You're starting to see where this has been leading. Not fully, but enough to feel it. That point you kept circling, it's not just about you. That's the part you didn't expect. It affects more than you realized. And maybe that's why you avoided it. Because once you step into it, it doesn't stay contained. It expands, it touches other parts of your life, other people, other choices, and suddenly this isn't small anymore. So you hesitated. Not out of weakness, out of awareness of the impact. But here's what you didn't see. Avoiding it was already creating impact. Just slower, less visible, but still there. So now you're at the edge of something unavoidable, not forced, but undeniable. And that thing inside you, the one that stayed quiet for so long, it's not waiting anymore. It's aligning with you or without you. And that's where it shifts again. Because now it's not asking if you're ready. It's showing you that you already crossed that point. You just didn't realize it. That moment earlier, the one you almost ignored, that was it. Not the beginning, the confirmation. And now, there's no going back to not knowing. Only forward into something you still can't fully explain. But you can feel it's already happening. And that's the part you keep trying to verify as if it needs proof. It doesn't. You're looking for a signal you can point at, something obvious, something you can say, there, that's it. But it's not going to show up like that, because if it did, you'd turn it into something small, something explainable. And this isn't meant to be reduced. It's meant to be experienced, which is why it keeps slipping past your need to define it. You notice it, then it's gone. You feel it, then it shifts, almost like it's testing something. Not you, something in you. That deeper part that doesn't need explanation. The one that reacts before your thoughts catch up. Have you noticed that gap getting wider, that space between what you feel and what you can explain? It's stretching. And inside that stretch, something is stabilizing. Not fully formed, but no longer hidden. That's new. Before it stayed behind everything. Now it's starting to come through. In subtle ways, in how you respond, in what you no longer tolerate, in what suddenly matters more than it used to, and you didn't decide that. It just changed. Which brings up something uncomfortable. If you didn't decide it, then what did? That question lingers, doesn't it? Because it challenges the way you've always seen yourself. As the one in control, as the one directing everything. But now something else is participating, not taking over, not replacing you, just aligning alongside you. And that's unfamiliar, because it doesn't argue, it doesn't rush, it just holds a direction, quietly, consistently. And when you move against it, you feel it immediately. That tension, that slight misalignment, not dramatic, but enough to notice, enough to make you pause. That pause again. It keeps returning. Why? Because that's where the adjustment happens, not in action, in the moment before it. And you've been entering that moment more often lately, without trying, without forcing it, just naturally, almost like you're being slowed down into awareness. But here's the shift. You used to think that pause meant uncertainty. Now it feels like precision. That changes everything. Because now you're not hesitating out of fear. You're pausing because something deeper is calibrating. And that calibration, it's leading you somewhere specific. Back to that same point. The one you kept circling, the one that feels exposed now. You thought it was just a situation, a problem, something to figure out. But it's not. It's a mirror, and not a comfortable one. Because it doesn't show you who you were. It shows you what you've been avoiding becoming. That's why it feels intense. Not because it's new, but because it's accurate. And accuracy removes distance. You can't stand outside of it anymore. You're in it, which means the question changes again. Not what is this, not even why me, but what happens if I don't step into this now? Sit with that for a second. Not as pressure, as truth. Because the answer isn't loud. It's quiet, but you can feel it. That sense of something staying locked if you turn away again. Not forever, but long enough to delay everything tied to it. And you've already felt what delay does. That slow drift, that quiet misalignment, that almost life. You don't want that again, even if part of you still leans toward it. That's the contradiction. You're pulled forward and tempted to stay back at the same time. But the pull forward, it's stronger now. Not because it got louder, because you're finally hearing it clearly. And that changes how it lands. It's no longer a suggestion. It's a direction, subtle, but undeniable. And the moment you fully accept that, not intellectually, but internally, something shifts again. Deeper this time. Closer, like a lock turning, not opening fully, just enough to feel it move. And once you feel that movement, you can't pretend it's still closed. You'll know, without needing confirmation, without needing anyone to tell you, because it won't feel like a possibility anymore. It will feel like the next step you can't avoid. And that's when it stops feeling like a choice. Not because you're forced, because everything else starts feeling off. Even the things that used to comfort you, even the paths that once made sense, you try to lean back into them, and something inside you just doesn't settle. That's new. Before, you could ignore that feeling. Now it lingers. Why does it stay? Because the part of you that used to adjust isn't adjusting anymore. It's holding position, quietly, firmly, almost like it's waiting for you to match it, not chase it, not question it, just meet it. And the closer you get, the more precise everything feels. Not easier, more exact. Like every small decision suddenly carries weight, even the ones no one else would notice. Why does that matter? Because this isn't about big moments. It's about alignment in the smallest ones. That's where this unlock finishes forming. Not in something dramatic, in something subtle you almost overlook. And you've been overlooking it more than once. That tiny moment where you almost chose differently but didn't. You felt it, that slight pull, that quiet correction. And then you moved past it. But it didn't disappear. It stayed in the background, waiting for you to come back to it. And now you are. But here's the shift. It's not waiting the same way anymore. It's closer, more immediate, like it's right at the surface now. And ignoring it, it takes more effort than following it. That's how you know something has flipped. But wait, that doesn't mean it's easy now. It actually gets more uncomfortable here, because clarity removes your excuses. You can't say, I didn't know. You can't say it wasn't clear. You know, even if you don't fully understand. And that knowing, it creates pressure, not external, internal. The kind that builds when you're standing right before something and you haven't stepped yet. So let me ask you, what are you still waiting for? Not the surface answer, the real one. Because there's something you keep telling yourself that almost sounds valid. Almost, but if you look at it closely, it doesn't hold. It's just familiar, and familiarity can feel like truth, even when it's not. That's the pattern breaking right now. Not all at once, but enough for you to see through it. And once you see through something, you can't fully believe it again. That's where you are, between seeing and acting. And that space, it doesn't last long. You either step forward or you feel the weight of not stepping. There's no neutral here anymore. That's the part no one tells you. Awareness removes neutrality. You don't get to stay undecided. Not here, not with this, because this is tied to something bigger than a single moment. It connects backward to everything that felt delayed, everything that didn't land, everything that made you question yourself. It wasn't random. It was building toward this exact point, and now you're standing in it, fully, even if part of you still wants to step back. But here's the truth you weren't expecting. You already stepped, not physically, internally. That moment earlier, that pause you almost ignored, you crossed something there. You just didn't realize it. So now, you're not deciding whether to begin, you're deciding whether to continue, and continuing means letting something finally come through, fully, not controlled, not filtered, just allowed. And when that happens, that thing that stayed locked for so long, it doesn't just open, it moves, not outward, inward first. That's why it feels heavier instead of lighter. Like something is shifting position inside you, finding where it actually belongs. And when it settles, everything around it adjusts, not instantly, but noticeably. You start seeing connections you didn't see before, between moments, between choices, between that thing you avoided and everything it quietly influenced. It was never isolated. That's what you're realizing now. It touched more than you thought, which means stepping into it changes more than one thing. Are you starting to see that why this had to stay locked? Because if it opened earlier, you wouldn't have recognized what it connects to. You would have treated it like something small, handled it lightly, and moved on. But now, you can't move past it. You have to move through it. There's a difference, and you feel that difference. It's slower, more intentional, almost like something is watching how you respond, not judging, observing, measuring something. What though? Not your actions, your alignment. That's what's being checked. Not what you do, but where it's coming from. And that's harder to fake. You can act right and still feel off. You can say the right thing and still feel misaligned. You've noticed that disconnect. That subtle tension when something looks right but doesn't feel right. That's what you can't ignore anymore. And that's new. Before you could override it. Now, it lingers until you correct it. Which brings you back to that same point again. It keeps returning. Not because you're stuck, because you're circling closer. Each time, you're seeing it more clearly, feeling it more directly, until eventually, there's no distance left. And that's where it shifts again. Because once there's no distance, there's no separation. It's not something you're looking at anymore. It's something you're inside. And inside it, there's no confusion. Just truth, raw, unfiltered, and not entirely comfortable. Because it shows you something simple but not easy. You've been waiting for the right moment. But the right moment was waiting for you to stop hesitating. That's the reversal. Not time aligning with you, you aligning with time. And now that it's happened, even subtly, everything starts accelerating. Not externally, internally. Internally. Your awareness sharpens, your tolerance drops, your direction clarifies, even if your path doesn't yet. That's the strange part. You feel more certain without having full answers, and that used to bother you. Now, it doesn't hold the same weight, because you're starting to trust something you can't explain, not blindly, but because it's been consistent. Quiet, but consistent. And consistency builds something deeper than belief. It builds recognition. You recognize it now, that presence, that pull, that shift. And recognition changes how you respond. You stop questioning its existence and start noticing its direction. Subtle, precise, leading you back to that exact point again. But this time you're not circling it, you're facing it, fully. And when you face it like that, something happens, not loud, not dramatic, but final. A decision forms, not forced, not rushed, just clear. And once it's clear, that thing inside you, the one that's been moving quietly this whole time, it doesn't hold back anymore. It aligns, and then it activates, and it doesn't look the way you imagined. No sudden explosion. No visible shift anyone else would notice. Just a deep internal click, like something finally locks into place after being slightly off your whole life. You feel it in how still you become. Not frozen, not stuck. Still, focused. Certain in a way that doesn't need explanation. And that's new for you. Because before you needed reasons. Now, you just know where not to go. And strangely, that's enough to move forward. There's no rush anymore. That urgency you felt before, it changes shape. It's no longer panic, it's precision. You move differently now. Even your silence means something. Even your pauses carry weight. And that thing you kept circling, it doesn't feel intimidating anymore. It feels inevitable. Like it was always going to come back to this. Not as a problem, as a turning point. And here's the part that settles everything. Nothing was wasted. Not the delays, not the confusion, not even the moments where you almost gave up. They weren't detours, they were conditions, necessary ones. Because without them, this wouldn't feel real right now. You wouldn't recognize it, you wouldn't trust it, but you do, even if you don't fully understand why. And that's enough. More than enough. Because this was never about having all the answers. It was about reaching a point where you stop needing them to take the next step. And you're there now, quietly, completely, right on the edge of something that doesn't need to prove itself anymore. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to chase anything. You just have to not turn away this time. That's it. And if you stay with it, if you hold that alignment just a little longer, you'll notice something subtle but undeniable. What once felt blocked was never meant to stay closed. It was meant to open exactly when you could handle what came with it. And now you can. You're not the same anymore, and you can't go back to who you were. If this found you at the right moment, subscribe and stay close to what's unfolding. This path isn't for everyone, but you already know it's yours.